Hello everyone, this is Christian Nolan here with Brek Bailey. This is our first ever podcast recorded here live at Richmond Hill Hyundai. This podcast is here to discuss everything about current day life, as well as how it will affect everybody with the auto industry. So, a big topic we get here is electric cars. Brek, what's your thought on this?
Well, the general consensus is that certainly over the next 10 to 20 years, we're all going to be driving electric cars, and gasoline is going to be nothing but a fond memory for some of us, or all of us. Right now, we're sort of like smack dab in the middle of all this. What's interesting is that certainly a few years ago, the expectation was that certainly by now, or within the next couple of years, that the switch to full electric would have been made, certainly across the board. What we are seeing is that whole process has actually slowed down, and in some aspects come to a stop depending on the level of market that you're in for an electric vehicle. From what I'm seeing, there are a couple of reasons for that. The big one is certainly we don't have the infrastructure in place yet for most people to consider going into a full electric vehicle.
But Brek, what about Tesla? Tesla has a pretty good infrastructure.
Yes, they do, but Tesla also is what would be considered to be a high-end vehicle. And most of us don't have the privilege of driving high-end vehicles.
Oh, you got to tell me about that again, yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's hard for everybody out here nowadays. So if Tesla can do it within, about 5 to 10 years of what you've seen in the market, what do you think a brand like Hyundai could do?
I think Hyundai is capable of doing it, and certainly what I've seen in the brand over the last 3 to 4 years, with improvements year over year in things like their battery capacity, the longevity of their batteries, their range keeps getting significantly longer every year. But there again, it all falls back to the limitations of where you're going to plug your vehicle in if you're going on a longer drive. We're lucky in the sense that we do have our plug-in versions of our hybrids. And what is really exciting now as well is that our SUVs, particularly the Tucson and Santa Fe, are going to have a hybrid powertrain within the next 3 to 6 months on ground in Canada. And we're all looking forward to that.
Oh yeah, that's amazing. We did a couple of videos together on the 21 Tucson, so it's going to be a redesign for this vehicle, don't you think?
Yep, the redesign is going to be absolutely amazing. I was lucky enough to see the launch live in Korea, not in person, but I certainly did watch it on YouTube. But there again, what's happening also is that even the normal combustion engine is becoming more and more efficient with changes in technology, improvements particularly in transmissions that are being attached to the engines. So now, just to give a case in point, something like our Elantra, highway driving, I'm getting between 6 to 6.5 liters per 100. Whilst if I was in our hybrid, yes, it's still lower, but it's like 4.5. Well, 6 or 7 years ago, certainly when I first started working here, my average on the highway was between 8 and 9.
Oh yeah, you got to tell me about that.
The hybrid was at 4.
Definitely.
So you're seeing the normal combustion engines become more and more efficient because obviously the manufacturers, I think, are realizing that the transition towards full electric is going to take a bit longer than expected. By the same token, the hybrid is sort of like a sweet spot in between.
Oh, definitely. I actually had a customer here. Her name is Vivian. She says, "Hey, I really want to go electric, but what's going to happen to my old car? I only have 50,000 kilometers on the car. It's treated me good. Do you think now's a good time to trade into this car? What do you think, Brek?"
What, to trade in her car at 50K?
50K, yeah.
Well, that depends really on what her situation is. I mean, yes, it is a good time to trade in a car from our perspective because that's a really good used car for us to resell. Mm-hmm. Also, too, if it is just that she's at a decision point where switching to something like an electric makes sense because her lifestyle has changed, it might actually be in her favor. Certainly, if she's someone that does minimal driving, doesn't commute anymore, switching to a full electric, just gas savings alone, it would pay for itself pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah.
And there again, certainly from the research that I've seen, yes, our batteries are warranted for 9 years, but certainly the hybrids that have been in the market longer than that, the vehicles are lasting 15, 16 years and still going.
Well, yeah, that's really good. Yeah,
I really don't see that being a big concern. Of course, being here in Canada with our wonderful weather, the harsh reality is most people's vehicles don't last more than 10 or 11 years. So you will get your useful life out of a fully electric if you decided to buy one now, that's for sure.
Well, actually, a cool thing to think about now, because we're in a lockdown with Canada, could a lot of people benefit from the savings that they get from these electric cars? The rebates that we're offering and all the incentives on the Ioniqs?
Yeah, I mean, my take on selling cars is that it's really an individual thing. I know certainly in future programs you're going to talk a bit more like issues or questions we get a lot of the time, like the differences between financing and leasing, different types of protection for your vehicle and stuff like that. To me, it just really boils down to the individual, what it is they're trying to achieve and what their lifestyle is. As I said, as of right now, for someone to commit to a fully electric vehicle, they kind of have to know that they're not going to be doing ridiculously long road trips on a regular basis. It's just going to be a to B vehicle, just to do their regular shopping, running around town. Maybe, yes, you can still drive anywhere, but you may have to stop and plug in at some point.
Definitely.
So there again, for someone who is still doing a lot of driving, it may still actually make sense just to stick with a good old-fashioned gasoline vehicle, or with the hybrids that are coming out, where certainly you will continue to see much better fuel efficiency across the board. Certainly in the past, there was a big gap between if you were looking at a regular car and a hybrid or an electric as far as your price goes. Certainly if you really sat down to the math, when you looked at the premium you would pay to get into one of these cars versus what you would save on gas, unless you're doing a lot of driving, it may not actually make sense, financial sense, because you'll just outlay the money at the beginning versus putting gas in your car every 2 to 3 weeks, which will obviously vary depending on if your lifestyle changes. Now, what we're seeing, and I can only speak for Hyundai at the moment, that gap is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So I think what that's going to do in time is that the hybrid will become a more cost-effective option for more people across the board as we head into the future.
Yeah, and you actually noticed, so for the listeners at home, we actually own a Toyota dealership, and Toyota for the last couple of years has been really pushing hybrids. A lot of brands kind of went a different direction, full electric or not electric at all. If hybrid is definitely the future, Hyundai is definitely moving towards that, and we appreciate that. Now, switching over into other things in the market, you guys saw in the news with the pipeline being cancelled in Canada. You think that will affect anything in the auto industry?
The industry itself now, I think, is just more focused on surviving the pandemic more than anything else, like I think all of us are, really. As far as its effect on gas prices and the cost of energy, I'm certainly no expert. I don't know. Usually, these things are dictated by market and the powers that be. Under the basis that gas prices are going to continue to slowly creep back up, certainly with the implementation of the new taxes that have been implemented, I expect that all manufacturers are going to need to start focusing more on hybrids, simply because consumers are going to demand it. That, okay, I know I need to do this traveling. I can only afford to spend $50 a week on gas, right? Where can I find a vehicle that's going to keep me within that threshold, that's not going to be as costly as a second mortgage on my house.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's always the most important thing.
Right? I mean, and the thing is too, like what I'm seeing as well is our consumers are changing. Like right now, there again, a lot of changes within our brand. A lot more people are a lot more interested in just leasing. Because the reality is a car is a tool. Mm-hmm. It's not an asset, it's a depreciating tool. Mm-hmm. And for a lot of people right now, it's like the same way we change our phone every 2 or 3 years.
Exactly, yeah.
Technology is moving so quickly that for someone, certainly someone who drives a lot or depends on their vehicle, it might make sense to swap that vehicle every 3 to 4 years because of the advances in technology, especially in safety. I mean, all these things I saw an article up to last week where that big association in the States, the National Traffic Safety, whatever it is they're called, I never remember, are actually pushing the manufacturers to make things like autonomous braking a standard feature in cars.
Exactly, that's what it should be, yeah.
Because as of right now, people are introducing these things, but in a lot of instances, you have to, there again, spend a premium to get into a premium package to actually have these additional safety features. Hyundai is bitten the bull by the horns, and everything is coming standard with these safety features right now, which is great, certainly great for us, but there's still a bit of a lag. I kind of do expect the same way they've made reverse cameras law, that it's only a matter of time before emergency brake warnings and those things will become the norm as well.
I see. Okay, that's really good information. So guys, we are starting this podcast because we believe, this information is not really out there. Yes, we have our normal jobs, me being the business development manager and of course Brek being the customer relationship manager. We just wanted to take the time, to go over these kind of things. So if you guys have any questions at home, obviously feel free to subscribe to our YouTube page. Also, too, you can see Brek on Richmond Hill Hyundai. You can see myself on Richmond Hill Hyundai, and we can get this conversation going. So just before we go, actually, Brek, I want to bring up something. Do you think for electric cars, you think we'll ever have a future where they won't have charging cables anymore like the Apples?
I don't know. So I will tell you this. I really sucked at science in school, which is probably why I'm in the car business now. But, that would actually be pretty cool. Like if you could just drive up and park it on a pad in your garage and just automatically charge it. Yes. I won't be surprised. I don't know enough about electricity to know how viable that will be. I can only assume that we have portable chargers for everything else. Having said that, I do know that Hyundai is aggressively working on what would be like an emergency backup charger.
Oh yes, yeah.
That will be coming with their electric vehicles. So there again, in the off chance that you do miscalculate and you run out of battery, there will be a backup in the car that you can just plug in and it'll keep you rolling, hopefully at least until you can get to your next charging station, similarly to the good old jerry can that
yes.
keeping trunk of our cars, especially during the winter.
Definitely. Well, again, I want to thank you again, Brek. Until our next podcast, we'll see all you listeners soon. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye, guys.